Hello, welcome back. This is my second episode. As mentioned in my introduction, I was planning on rereading through all my old blog entries just to have them in a audio format, or audio video format. So today I'm going to be revisiting my first ever blog post. This was posted on December 11th, 2019. It's titled Taking the Dive. I have not reread this in years, so this is a cold reading. As an introduction, I guess I'm looking forward to seeing these thoughts that started so long ago. I don't want to give anything away before I start reading it, but once I finish reading it, I definitely plan on just some afterthoughts. I guess what has changed since then, or some recent victories, or just whatever this stirs up in my subconscious. So, without further ado, here is blog number 1, Taking the Dive. I can't believe that it's almost 3 years since graduating college. It feels as though time is passing even faster now that I've been out of school and having to take on the world for what it is. It feels like all of my close friends, even the friends that I'm not as close to, share a similar story. What are we doing? We're out here giving it our all. We hate our jobs. We hate our hours, and at the end of the month, we've made enough to afford a handful of good times on top of the bills and rent that are tying us down to this never-ending cycle. Where is this breakthrough moment that we've been promised? Why are we still doing this? After working in the service industry for almost 5 years now, it's a story that's been ingrained in most all of us that have been in this line of work for a couple of years. We would talk about it as if it were some kind of sick joke, but sure enough, week after week, month after month, we would be there doing the same routine, just pondering what the next move could be while not having enough time to really go out there to pursue it. As we all know, there is always something else that needs to be done in the restaurant. After being behind the bar 5 or 6 nights out of the week for over half of the year, something inside me just gave in. I couldn't do it anymore. I was tired both physically and mentally. I would get irritated very easily. There's only so many times one can hear the same jokes that everyone has heard a million times over, night after night, and still be expected to give the guest a somewhat genuine response to make them feel at home in a place that is far from it. There's only so many times that you could somewhat enjoy being swamped, slinging drinks nonstop on service bar while also running around to greet new arrivals and maintain this illusion that makes them feel like they're the only ones that you're supposed to be catering to. There's only so many times that you can genuinely enjoy staying out until 4 a.m. getting hammered to forget about what you just went through and not to even think about what it's going to be like tomorrow. I wasn't eating right, I wasn't happy, and I was definitely drinking too much. So, I quit. I put in my 2 weeks and I went to the drawing board, hoping that it would be enough time to figure out what to do. I knew that over the years I've tried my hand at plenty of things. I really enjoy screen printing, and that is something I've always wanted to do more of. I've always had a love for music. It's been my main squeeze for longer than I can remember, and I regret neglecting it for as long as I have. I tried launching a business. It didn't get as far as I would have liked it to, but there's still some pieces of it that are salvageable. I thought about all of these little dreams that I tried to make happen over the years, and I figured there's got to be something that'll stick. I mean, people are making a living doing these kinds of things every day. It was time to put my gold money where my love is before I let the opportunity slip through my fingers. It's now been a couple of months since taking the dive. There's been plenty of stressful days, but stress is an aspect of life that's equally as certain as death and taxes. As a whole, I can honestly say that I'm happier with the stress that's coming with this change. I find it much more productive than the stress I let accumulate by working in the industry for so long. I've been fortunate to have made friends that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet otherwise, as I'm standing behind the bar most nights of the week. I found myself surrounded with positivity and constructive criticism as ways to make this kind of living work, and I will forever be thankful for that. It took me a long time to get back on the train, and now that I'm gone, it's hard to say that I'll ever go back. At least not full time. Wink. You can only be jobless for so long before expenses start to creep up on you. Duh. Fortunately, I left my employers on good terms. It's very important to be friends with who you work for no matter what you do. So on top of working a few shifts here and there, I've also had opportunities to work odd jobs around the city, which has been a nice change of pace. I've rejoined the printing studio and I've spent a lot of time working on sketches and designs for prints. I've also had time to start piecing together my first full-length album. There's a lot that still needs to be done, but at this point it feels like I'm playing a big game of catch-up in which I actually enjoy trying to get to where I should have been years ago. I thought it would be a good idea to add this blog to my website to help track my progress, as well as to share my story as I'm going through this process. I don't think my future posts will be quite as wordy as this one, but I do look forward to sharing breakthroughs as well as information on upcoming releases and whatever other interesting occurrences that may happen along the way. So please, stay tuned. A bunch more is on the horizon. Until next time. Wow. That's crazy. I see a lot of similarities where I was at that point in time as to where I am now, or at least my last year as a whole. I've mentioned in some more of my previous or more recent blog posts how I quit a lot of my jobs, all of my jobs again. I had such a crazy 2023, going to NIH and coming to terms with my drinking problem. Really full force this go around. I mean, obviously I have slipped up since then. I wrote a whole blog post about relapsing. And it's so crazy just to see at that point in time. I don't really have much of a frame of reference as to like what odd jobs I was doing at that time. I wasn't keeping a journal at that time. So I don't really have any frame of reference as to what exactly it was I was doing to fill my time. So much has happened since there that I just don't have memory of what exactly it was I was doing. But, same kind of cycle happened again, just like 4 years later. Quit all my jobs, started doing odd jobs around the city. House painting was a big one that paid my bills. I'm still in the service industry, but comparatively to what I was doing back then, I've come a long way. I'm now working in the kitchen at a very well-established restaurant. I have ideas of maybe doing pop-ups. I've been sharing my food with some people, some of whom have given me great compliments, and I think the best compliment I gotten, other than silence, is man, I would pay to eat this again. So that is getting my gears turning on ways that I could use my craft to start producing some more income. And yeah, I am working the service industry part-time. Big advancement. I'm still not in the studio. Currently, I had to pull back when I got my 9-to-5 job because I just didn't have the time and I wasn't utilizing it, and it wasn't worth the expense. But now, I just had my first successful art show at a coffee shop in town. My work was hanging for a whole month, and that was very well received. So that definitely gives me motivation and reason to get back into the studio. So going into April, that's a big part of my plan, to keep this dream alive. It's funny also, I want to mention, towards the end, it's funny that I was explaining how I was putting the blog post up to share my process, and now I'm doing the same exact thing but in this new medium of vlogging, podcasting, all of the above. But it is pretty nuts. How back in 2019 I'm writing about things I wanted to do, and in a large sense, I mean, I think I nailed some of those goals. I made a body of work. I showed that body of work. I mentioned wanting to get my album out. I released that back in 2022, along with another EP in 2020. So, you know, creatively speaking, I'm pretty happy with how much has happened since then. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. If you've watched this far, as always, I hope this can kind of be an example to other creatives who may be in a similar place, like kind of how I was mentioning towards the beginning, in that never-ending work cycle, trying to find time in order to pursue your passions. A friend of mine put it to me, he said, you always have to beat back the bushes. You have to find ways in order to fund your passions. You have to find ways in order to carve out time to make your dreams happen. So it's something that everyone goes through, and just don't get discouraged. Good things take time, and no matter what, you're gonna have to pay dues in some way, shape, or form. You're gonna have to fail a lot, and yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day. These kinds of pursuits, people spend their lifetime trying to get to their goals. So if you're in a similar position where you feel like you're just not making any progress, maybe just step back, look at the bigger picture, and documenting things like this is blowing my mind. I'm very self-critical, and just to be reading this after years and seeing where I am now, I'm kind of mind blown. Anyway, I should stop my rambling there. Plenty more to talk about in upcoming episodes. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, drop a like, drop a subscribe. I'm hoping to keep the momentum up and get these out a bit quicker, because like I said in the reading, still a lot of catch up to do. I mean, this was 5 years ago. I have so many blog posts to get through, some of which are pretty meaty. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.